A typical day at work as a director starts early in the morning, and because you're a leader when you're a director, you really want to make sure that you have everything set in your life. So if you have children, which I do, you've made their lunches the night before. You've kind of organized everything so that you can go into work really clear. And then you start out talking to people, finding out before the shooting day starts, talking to people, seeing where everybody is, making sure that the makeup artist is fine, because she's the first person the actors are going to see. So you want to make sure she hasn't broken up with her husband or had a bad day. You want to talk to everybody, engage the environment, talk to the actors, make sure they feel comfortable with the work at hand, talk to the cinematographer, make sure you're both on the same page. And then you have a plan, and the plan is on a call sheet, which tells you what you're going to do when, and you make sure that the plan is still a workable plan, considering weather and outside forces. And then you just get into it. I get the actors on set, I have a rehearsal with them so that they know what we're thinking of doing. And then they go back to makeup and hair, and we start lighting the set and getting the set all ready with their props and with all the bits that need to happen before we can actually shoot. The cinematographer lets the first AD know how much time it's going to be, and everybody sort of works together to make sure that everybody's ready at the same time. And then you start with the first scene that you've planned. And usually if it's an emotional scene, maybe you want to do it first because that's when everybody's fresh, or maybe you want to do it later in the day because that's when people are comfortable. So just depending on the situation, you have to gauge those kinds of things. You have a plan in your head, and so by the time you're shooting, you've already lived it so many times in your head. You've read it yourself. You've been both roles. So when you're lucky, it's a relief when you're finally doing the actual work. So that's a day on a set as a director. As an assistant director, a day on a set would be you're there early. You're making sure that everybody is where they're supposed to be. Everybody has the directions they need. Everybody is in makeup when they need to be in makeup. That you've made the plan for the day, and it's your job to execute it. And you have to execute it in a timely fashion. If you execute it, but you're too slow, then you haven't been a successful assistant director. So you're thinking ahead, you're doing what you're doing right now, but you're also thinking about 2 scenes from now. You have to make sure that the car you're going to need in 2 scenes is actually here. And so you're constantly using your support team to make sure that all the elements are in place. And you're sort of looking at your watch and you're thinking, what time is it? What has to be doing? Like, you really are a taskmaster. But at the same time, I believe that people work best when they're happy. All people don't believe that, but that's what I believe. So I feel like it's my job to sort of maybe be the mother on the set in a good way. Mother in terms of someone who nurtures and someone who makes it a safe environment. And I feel that way as a director and as an assistant director, that it's my job to sort of make everybody feel like they can do their best work. As a writer, a typical day would be that I wake up, because, some of the hard things about being a writer is you're often doing the work first and then getting paid later. So you have to do all of your life at the same time. So I wake up my kids, get them off to school, breakfast and lunch, and get them off to school, come back home, and there's a pile of dishes there waiting for me, and I have to not look at the pile of dishes. Because if I look at the pile of dishes, then once I wash the dishes, then I think, oh, what are we going to eat for dinner? And then once I think about what are we going to eat for dinner, I have to think about, all the details, all the logistics. So as a writer, I start out like ignoring all the things that are like saying, do me, give me your attention, give me your attention. So finally I sit down and I look at that, and for better or worse, I think about things when I'm sleeping. That's when I do a lot of productive work, and I think that's probably a bad thing, but I come up with such great ideas when I'm supposed to be sleeping and I'm not. So a lot of times when I sit down, there are things in my head that I've solved, problems I've solved in my head with regard to maybe a character or something I want to focus on. And so I sort of try and write that right away. And then I just sort of get involved. And I'm really lucky. The project I'm writing right now, I have to tear myself away from it. I'm not, I have to stop writing as opposed to work hard to write. So that's kind of how my day goes.